Chapter 7. Runaway and Runaway. Kanemitsu was climbing Tenji with the girls. There were lots of vines and branches to grab onto, but the wind was raging. Alright, be sure to support your body with 3 points. Is the weather usually this unstable? Amain complained. It's actually quite calm right now, and it's not raining, and thanks to the harsh wind, we won't have any brittle plants to accidentally grab onto. Why are we doing this? Ryoko looked like she was about to start crying. When we get back up, I'm going to find your wife, and I will beat the shit out of her. Ha ha ha. That's the spirit. Kanemitsu laughed. Neiju was tied to Kanemitsu's backpack, suspended in the air floating without any foothold or anything. It was physically easy, but psychologically like torture. Neiju, who was enjoying the scenery at first, closed her eyes at around 100 meters. Finally, after 500 meters, she had fainted. About 5 hours after they started climbing, Kanemitsu crossed the most difficult point and finally reached a place where it would be easy to get up. From this point onwards was a well-organized plant group and only a few places where climbing was necessary. Of course, it was a steep slope, but it was still much easier to go up than climbing. Ah, this feels good. Amain and the others were sitting around a small fountain in a big cave resting. The cool wind and cold water were comfortable. We need to get back to climbing as soon as we're done eating. Hey, where's the shrine maiden? Kanemitsu looked around but didn't see Neiju. I need to find her. Wait a moment. She's out for a walk with Nene and Karen. She's fine. Amain quickly stopped Kanemitsu. But he made a strange look, but from the standpoint of an escort, it was bad to be away from his escortee for a long period of time. Kia. Neiju's scream was heard from a short distance away. What's that? Don't ask me. The girls rushed up the vines which wrapped around like a spiral staircase on the big tree until they encountered what looked like a backwards ant with huge red eyes. Amain and the others were much faster, but because the ants were able to move without any concern, they weren't far behind. Why weren't we warned of these beforehand? Maybe they're not carnivores? Hakurin said. They relaxed a bit, but still tried to escape. But if you get caught, it will take at least 3 nights to get out of its nest while it cares for you. I don't know if that's good or bad. There are quite a few benefits. They call them nursing care ants. They take care of the animals they find with extraordinary care, and the gel-like honey secreted by them makes for a good meal. It's a nutritious and complete meal. If you're incredibly hungry, it seems that the amount that you get is considerably increased. In the past, nursing care ants got a hold of scholars who studied the ecology of elephants here. They seemed to think that it wasn't half bad living with the ants. Someone must have felt it was bad to take 3 days to escape such a thing. With our current medical technology, the response to the various problems of aging is handled well, but if Jurai had a civilization in the early stages, it may have been incorporated into the retirement care system. Let's do our best and run away. Why are they so persistent? It had been more than 2 hours. Can't we just fight them off and drive them away? They have been designated beneficial insects. Hurting them is against the law. You don't think this is a reasonable exception? Not for these creatures. Then we just have to figure out why they're chasing us, right? Well, to that extent I know. Then why haven't you done anything about it? It is a matter related to the dignity of the shrine maiden. The dignity of Neiju, oh. The ants cultivate mushrooms they eat from animal manure they use as fertilizer. In other words, it responded to the smell of Neiju's reaction to being suspended miles up in the air. They would have to remove her underwear. I think I see a transfer gate to a residential area up ahead. If we keep at it, we should get there soon. There wasn't supposed to be one for quite a while. It seems we've made it to our destination in under an hour. You're joking, right? Ha ha ha. Thanks to being chased, we arrived earlier than planned. I guess that's a good thing, isn't it? Tomorrow I'll defiantly be in pain. After 30 minutes, they made it to the transfer gate. Our victory is at hand. Don't you think so, Captain? Daruma shouted with excitement. In the large dock in front of him, the good luck ship which had been remodeled was anchored. Its appearance was now exactly like a treasure ship. It didn't look at all like a pirate battleship. But it was a battleship made by the Daruma Guild with the best possible technology. Of course, Mr. President. It's the strongest lucky ship with the strongest luck items. It is a masterpiece. Yeah, The new Unko will be unstoppable. Wahahaha. Kamachi had a complicated look on her face as she listened to Daruma and Sirio. One of the reasons was, of course, the two of them, but another was a monitor that reflected the state of the bridge just past them. Daruma, Captain, I'm going to check the state of sailing preparations now. Kamachi bowed without listening to their response and quickly left the scene. How are the departure preparations progressing? Kamachi called out to Barry as she entered the bridge. The operator's seat had been taken away from Alan and switched to Barry or Cohen when Alan was caught on the surveillance monitor a while ago doing lazy work with a dissatisfied expression. We will be ready for departure in about an hour. Okay. I'll leave it to you while I look around. Kamachi said as she turned her eyes towards Maya sitting in the spectator seat behind the bridge. Let's go for a tour of the inside of the ship. Please come along. Yes. Maya stood up gracefully and left the bridge with Kamachi. Hey, Alan. Where are you going? Barry asked Alan, who stood up to follow after the two suspiciously. To, the toilet. Yep, the toilet. Do I have to report each and everything I do like that? You just went there a little while ago? That was something little. This is big. I think it's about to come out. Alan held on to his butt and jumped out to escape from the bridge. I wish he would at least pretend to be going to the bridge's toilet. The two who were now unraveled from Alan's spell were not interested anymore in his shenanigans. They resumed their work. So, what can I do for you, Deputy Director Kamachi? Who the heck let a dancer like you onto this battleship? Were they drunk? Why are you here? Couldn't I say the same for you? I'm going to tell Mother, and she will have you removed before we set sail. I'm here of my own will, and she gave me permission, just like you, big sister. What? Kamachi looked surprised for a moment. Wait. Mother knows you're here. Of course, she does. Figures. It's not easy to get out of the palm of her hand now, is it? Kamachi's arm sank, and she leaned against the wall as if the thought of it made her weak. Of course, it's impossible, even for the daughter who ran away because of the pressures of having been the firstborn daughter of a great woman like Mikihi, though I hear you exceeded Mother's expectations. Mother said that this would give me precious experience. She sure is full of all kinds of tricks. Hey, who's there? At that time, Kamachi felt Alan hiding in the corner. He came out crying and panicked. Kamachi diverted her eyes from Alan as soon he came out. That attitude spurred Alan's confidence. He. I heard quite a funny story. Well, how much do you want for me to keep it a secret? He. What do you want? Wait. Maya smiled at Kamachi and approached Alan. You're in luck. If you keep quiet, first we can remove this unpleasant color, then we can exile you to Reception. He. I understand, but first of all, could you show me what kind of entertainment value you have? What? Entertainment value? Alan, who was proud of his victory, was stunned at Maya's surprising answer. Yes, if you wish asylum on Reception, you must first prove that you are a sufficient entertainer. Wait a moment. What about keeping your secret? Doesn't that mean anything? My sister. How much is that secret worth? Maya asked Kamachi behind her with a strange look. I'd lose my room at my mother's house, but it's already as good as empty, and I might get some weird eyeballing for being Mikihi's daughter. What? So you're trying to trick me? You should go back to the bridge instead of continuing to talk. I'll overlook this because we haven't departed yet, but as for the fact that you abandoned your work, I won't overlook it. Kamachi glared at Alan. So, it's okay for me to know that the daughter of Mikihi of Reception ran away and now leads space pirates? There are various people in Reception, both rich and poor, both men and women, thieves, cheaters and killers. Me being a space pirate is hardly an issue. And you're a space pirate for the Daruma Guild, which is currently our customer. The reason for Alan's threat had disappeared, and his advantage also disappeared. But does Reception accept asylum unconditionally? Are you stupid or? Mr. Alan. We do not want unnecessary conflict with the outside, but as I mentioned earlier, if you are an entertainer, that is no longer an issue. Then give me an act to learn. I'll desperately memorize it. Should I put my faith in your uncertain future as an entertainer? Well, you're my sister's colleague, so I guess I can at least see if you develop a special talent. Oh, thank you. Alan put his head on the floor, bowing repeatedly. Mato, did you get that? Maya said. Mato was immediately displayed on a monitor. What do you think of him, Mato? Mato, however, shook his head with a glance at Alan. However, that woman, Mato said looking at Kamachi. Maya's sister, that woman, she would be very good. Thank you, Mato. I will make a note of it. While closing the monitor, Maya looked at Kamachi, who seemed embarrassed. Since Kamachi left Reception long before Mato was born, Mato didn't know that Kamachi was his older sister. Alan, sorry, Reception will not be needing you. What? What does a child know of my talent? He is my brother, Maki's son. He can see a person's talent. If he says that they're good, that person will be scouted, no questions asked. Huh, please, I'll work at the slots. I will do anything, have mercy. If you would like to work at Reception, please return to apply after your debts are settled. Then they might accept you. But that's not right now. Please have mercy. Kamachi picked up Alan by the scruff of his neck as he tried to cling to Maya's leg. Go back to the bridge and work seriously or I will fire you. Ack. Okay, I'll go right away. I'm going now. Kamachi let go of him. Alan ran to the bridge. Welcome home, Yuzaki ran away as nursing care ants stampeded at her from behind Kanemitsu, who had reached the residential district. Ahaha. Amain glared at Yuzaki and laughed as she fought them off. She was unable to even stand up. Ryoko had fainted. Neju mentally collapsed. Hakurin was in an upright and immovable posture, but her breath was rough, and her legs were trembling. And, well, as Ringo is waiting on Nene, I must go to her now. I must scold that to-do. Nene still had plenty of physical strength. She immediately rushed to the transfer gate. Hakurin-chan, please go help Kuriko, Yuzaki said after she had defeated the ants. Okay. Hakurin saluted to Yuzaki, bowed to Kanemitsu and Amain, and headed for the transfer gate. She looks tired. Yuzaki smiled at Amain. Don't say that like it's someone else's fault. I didn't expect that nursing care ants would chase you. That route is a pretty popular athletic course, but there are restrictions on the number of people who can use it for environmental conservation reasons. It's a rare privilege to be allowed to make that climb. Oh well, there's a little time before the Kamidex fusion test. You should rest until then. Wait a moment. I'm not done with. Amain desperately reached forward to go after Yuzaki when one of her officers poked a thick syringe in Amain's ass. The other girls were also injected in the same way. Would you like one too? Yuzaki smiled at Kanemitsu, who was hiding up a pole. Kanemitsu shook his head. No, I'm fine. My nanomachines will handle it. Is Mikage doing all right? Of course, he looked after her carefully. Ringo also got involved. Really? Yes, and she told him the diaper story. Well, you tried. She ruined the joke. You know, not everything needs to be a joke. Kanemitsu pointed to the girls who were being put into wooden boxes similar to coffins. I know that. Sito rushed out to get Hakurin. Oh, you're here. Hurry up. Sito hurried her. The other three panicked and followed. Sito-sama, what on earth is going on? Kuriko's in a bad mood. This could be trouble. Kuriko-sama? Why? Over Sana-sama? We were suddenly transferred to the basement by Ms. Yuzaki. What happened with Ringo? Tell us all the details. Oh, did something happen? Oh, she blew a gasket when she learned about Ringo spending the night with Sana. But it's not like they were alone. Fuku was also there. I tried to explain that, but she wouldn't listen. What shall we do? Yuzaki just poured oil on the fire by having Amain and the others delivered in coffins. I figure she won't listen to me, but she might listen to Yuzaki's victims. So, you want us to take care of this? Yep. Sito walked off. Excuse me. Kuriko gazed at the mirror with a silent mind as the makeup artists applied makeup to her face. But they backed off of her as soon as she wrinkled her brows. About what I told you this morning. I don't want to hear it, she said to Sito. If you don't believe me, then here are the victims themselves. Sito said, pushing Hakurin forward from behind her. Kuriko-sama, we're back now. Kuriko stared silently through her in anger. Do you really believe Sana would do anything like that, Kuriko-sama? To Hakurin's question, Kuriko gazed up and down at the Sito scouts' bodies. Although they were standing, she could see they were clearly run ragged and very tired. What about Amain and the others? Don't you believe them? Kariko's wrinkles slightly relaxed. I would, but I haven't seen them. Where are they? Hakurin pointed towards the entrance and Kariko glared at it. Huh. Amain and the others in coffins were brought in. As expected, Kariko was stupefied. Packing people into these cryo coffins is quickly becoming a classic gag, isn't it? Anyways, it will be a while before they're up, but Nene was with us. Right now, she is complaining to Tadu, Ringo-sama's butler. But when she's done, she will say the same thing as we will, and so will Ringo-sama and Seina. Why didn't you just ask them? Or ask Fuku? It's not like they were alone. Kariko breathed a big sigh as if she had been defeated. Knowing that Seina and Ringo weren't alone and seeing Amain and the others in the coffins worked like shock therapy to snap her out of it, the wrinkles between Kariko's eyes were now completely gone. Oh, and Kariko-sama, I heard you've become the master of a second-generation tree. Congratulations. Seeing that the atmosphere of the place had returned to normal, Hakurin gathered together a celebration. Thank you. When Kariko thanked her, the beauticians who had waited nearby gathered around Kariko and started dressing her up again. Seina, who had finished breakfast, was looking out at the scenery of Tenju while looking after Mikage in the living room. Mikage wanted milk early in the morning, so Seina had decided to make breakfast early. He hadn't been able to get much sleep anyways. Soon Ringo came into his view. When combined with the sight of Tenju at sunrise and the refreshing morning air, she had an extraordinary beauty to her. Yua, I'll take over watching Mikage. If you like, you can get some rest in the acceleration space. Ringo told Seina. However, Seina knew that Ringo was tired too. He shook his head. No, it's okay. I try not to use acceleration spaces if avoidable. Actually, if you become too accustomed to using the acceleration space, there were various adverse effects. The most serious of them was dependency and withdrawal. Even if you didn't initially stay a long time in accelerated space, it was possible to slowly get addicted so that the length of stay in the acceleration space slowly got longer and longer, eventually affecting one's lifespan. It was also the same for thought acceleration. It also caused aging in the spirit, which also affected the body. There were many cases of abnormalities in the body and sudden death in worst-case scenarios. Seina often used accelerated space for work, time adjustment, and because he was still dominated by the sense of age of an earthling person, he was trying not to use it often in everyday life. Okay, then in that case, I'll make us some tea. Ringo stood up. Ding dong. The doorbell of the entrance rang. Huh. Seina and Ringo got up at the same time. Holding Mikage, they headed for the entrance. Good morning. Yuzaki was standing there with Funaho. Seina and Ringo stood there dumbfounded in front of the Empress of Jurai. Ewa. Only one person, Mikage, was laughing gladly at seeing Funaho. Oh, hi there, Mikage. You're looking well today. Funaho-sama. Why are you here with Yuzaki-sama? Yuzaki and I were going to wake up Amain's people. Originally, we planned to do that first, but they arrived earlier than expected, so instead we came here to take Mikage off your hands. Take her off our hands? But you're the Empress. Well, I didn't want to have to say it, but I also really wanted to see you, so it was more of an excuse than anything. Funaho looked at Seina with a big smile. Oh, both of you, stay still just like that. Funaho launched a monitor for taking pictures. Say cheese. She said casually. Seina and Ringo smiled reflexively. Thank you for the picture. The two of you look like such a cute couple. Yua. Seina and Ringo turned red at the same time. Funaho used the opportunity to take a pic of them blushing. Yua haha. Mia. Mikage laughed delightfully and Fuku also jumped on Seina's head. Funaho took another snapshot. Ringo, please let me hug Mikage-chan. Oh! Yes. Upon receiving Mikage from Ringo, Funaho shook Mikage gently as she held her up like a mother-in-law who came to visit her grandchild. Ewaha. Did you sleep well? Yes, she did, Miss Funaho. Seina-sama, Ringo, I'm sorry for the various inconveniences you've been put through, so I will arrange to make it right the best I can. Please accept my apologies and a thank you from Yuzaki, and please forgive us for anything that may have happened. It's okay, it was kind of fun. Anyways, I'm just glad the responsibility is off my shoulders. Mia? Fuku said uneasily. Fuku, it's time for work. Say goodbye to Mikage. Seina embraced Fuku and gently stroked her. Mia. You'll see her again. Mia. Seina embraced Fuku and took her closer to Mikage. Mia. Fuku looked at Mikage as she slept and gently booped her nose against Mikage's while being careful not to wake her up. Good night, Mikage-chan. Seina said to Mikage, and then he slowly retreated. Funaho, I'll help clean up, so please go ahead without me. Oh, what's wrong? I think that dealing with Nene is probably going to be troublesome. Oh, I see. Then let's go. Funaho smiled at Seina. Seina-sama, here, take this. Yuzaki has given you permission to have direct communication with Mikage anytime. This is the calling address. One of the girls who had been nearby them called Seina over and operated a monitor. Immediately before Fuku's eyes, the address monitor started up. The address was sucked into the crystal of Fuku's forehead. Good. Now you can talk to her anytime. Mia. Fuku's expression was bright. Well then, let's go. Waving to Ringo and the officers, Funaho, Seina, and Fuku headed for the transfer gate. While traveling, Funaho hugged and petted Fuku. Wow, she must have made friends with Mikage. She makes friends very easily. Oh, is that so? You're a friendly little thing, aren't you? Mia? Fuku looked up at Funaho with very charming eyes and a gentle voice. Yay! I'm glad to hear that. Sorry, but please excuse me for a moment. Funaho stopped at the entrance of the Masaki family palace. The servants and officers who were there bowed deeply to Seina and Funaho all at once. We have to act official right now. Funaho handed Fuku to Seina. Thank you for waiting. I look forward to seeing Kariko-chan's sunny and cheerful appearance. Yes, thank you so much for coming to pick her up. Well, we're family now, aren't we? Yes. Funaho smiled a big smile and accompanied the women and the escort fighters and walked down the central aisle. A woman came close to Seina as soon as he looked at Funaho walking off. Seina, please come here. Seina. I've been looking forward to seeing you again, Amain said to Seina as he came in the room. Mia. Fuku jumped off his shoulder as soon as she saw Amain and climbed onto her. Fuku. Amain and Ryoko gently rubbed Fuku's head. Fuku seems to have had fun. Neju hugged Fuku and grinned, but she still felt a bit tired. Hey, are you okay? Do we look okay? No, by the way, where are Kurin and the others? It looks like they were taken to Kariko's place. Somehow they aren't entirely wiped out like us. It's a true testament to what it means to be that crusty old shit hag's subordinates. Oh, is that so? I'm glad you're all okay. Seina, you look good. I hear you had lots of fun with Ringo. Why don't you tell us about it? Ho ho ho. Amain, who failed to take out her anger on Yuzaki, for the time being, was willing to settle on Seina's melancholy. Things were serious. I had to take care of the baby by myself. If Ringo hadn't come, I don't want to even think about what could have happened. Wait, that's not what I heard from Kanemitsu and Nene. Seriously? That's unreasonable. Is that woman crazy? What kind of mother would do that? Anyway, I was relieved to be able to give the baby back safely. Amain-san, what happened with you? I'm going to get angry just thinking about it. I'll tell you about it when I feel like talking about it a long time from now. Behind her, Sito ran up. Amain got a wrinkle between the eyebrows and gazed at her. Oh no, what's with the terrible face? Who do you think caused it? Amain glanced at Sito. I'm sorry, were you bored spending time together? Not even for a moment, but that's not the point. Ahahaha. Sito burst into laughter. Amain's anger was in overdrive. Well, no point in dwelling on it now. It's not like you can do anything about it. Bye. Sito poofed as Amain began to swing at her, and in her place were two big marshmallow-like sack dolls with Sito's stature. Pictures of Sito and Yuzaki were printed on each face. Oh! You! Hag! Amain started swearing furiously as she beat down the dolls. It was a strange sight. That's something Washa-chan made. It hypnotizes people and makes them see what their object of frustration is, and then replaces the dolls as they're destroyed. There should be like 2,000 of them before it runs out. So, all of them but Amain could see what was really going on. Oh, is that what's going on? Sena, are you okay? You seem a little tired? I couldn't leave the baby alone. I would be exhausted if Ringo hadn't come. Sena seemed to be sleepy. Finally, Amain had blown through the 2,000th doll. She was sweating and breathing heavily with her shoulders drooping as she panted. It's about time. Sito struck Sena from the back with a light tap of her fan. He looked in her direction towards the front of the door. The soldiers raised their spears at her signal. The huge doors heavily opened to the side. Karen and Kanemitsu escorted Kuriko, who was wearing a hood, as she came in quietly. Hakurin and Jaikirin took off the hood and everyone's eyes were drawn to Kuriko. Wow! There was Kuriko, dressed in the formal clothes of Jirai. For a moment, her adult atmosphere made her look exactly like Tsukiko. Her appearance was like that of Minaho and Funaho, neat and dignified as a royal of Jirai. Sito giggled at the appearance of Sena, who was stuck with his mouth open as he gazed at Kuriko. Then Sito remembered the banquet she had planned for them. Kuriko's banquet was held in the presence of both the Jurian empresses and the emperor, as well as the principals of each house, their wives, and various other witnesses. It was a major event that drew a great deal of people involved in the Grand Imperial Palace. They were there to welcome to the royal family those who got a second-generation tree, although originally it should have been relayed throughout Jirai. At this stage, however, the people who gathered today had to keep it confidential, so the banquet was held in secret behind the Masaki family estate's mansion. The room used was the place known as the Room of the Founder. The founder of the Jurian royal family was from the Masaki family. Naturally, the furniture there was that which he inherited from his ancestors. It had a lot of high historical value, and it could be said that it was the oldest room left over from the founding of Jirai. It was almost like an exhibit in a museum or a picture in old historical imagery. There were no such old things anywhere else in the imperial palace. And although the menu itself was commonplace, the material on which it was served was the finest quality, the kind which was only used for guests who were the heads of other nations. By the way, the carrots used in the meal were those grown on Earth by Tenchi. It sounds like things are pretty complicated with Katsuki, isn't it? Sito, sitting on the witness's seat, gently talked to Susan next to her. Katsuki has had a difficult time accepting the story of the Masaki family and of Kuriko's family. The irony of how Sena Yamada became affiliated with the GP frustrated him the most. I know the feeling. Susan was more in tune with his son's mind than Sito. In the past, Susan was in a position similar to his son, so more than anyone he painfully understood what was going on in his mind. Well, everyone settle down, we will now introduce her. Funaho said. The entrance door opened, Kuriko came in. Oh! A roar broke out in the room. Sito was satisfied with the reaction. Jurai's best imperial craftsmen were all mobilized. I was surprised. Even though I've met Kuriko before, this is more than I expected. Ho ho ho, we had the best staff. We had to carefully polish her from the top of her head to her toes. But there's still no lack of dignity. It seems that everyone's gaze has gone straight to her outfit. It was a wonderful outfit too, and undeniably dignified. It's impossible to sew something new in the short of a period of time, so I modified an old item of Funaho's a bit. Oh, I see. It certainly is familiar to me. It's nostalgic. Although it is an old-fashioned thing, it's a special offering from the imperial family, which has been perfected. Even so, it seems that the ladies are particularly curious about it, even though it is a top-of-the-line product that cannot be obtained. It was as Susan said, the main steward's witnesses were gazing at it with enchanted eyes. However, he soon noticed something. Apparently, they seemed to have noticed that the color of the cloth and color balance were perfect for her appearance. It was as if it were made exclusively for Kuriko, in spite of it being Funaho's outfit. The impression an outfit gave off changed with the color of the person's skin and hair color. Imperial-level clothes were carefully custom-made to take all the elements of those wearing them into account. In other words, the eyes that were concentrating on the outfit were really directed to Kuriko herself. And everyone's eyes soon moved to compare her with Funaho and Minaho. Katsuki's piercing glance was quickly aimed at his father, Susan. Oh, you seem to have noticed, my son. Don't think I've been swayed. But well, it's certain to me that Kariko doesn't intend to stir the pot. That's good to hear. I'm relieved that this won't also expose the bad reputation of the Amaki family, and I guess the making of the key for Mizuki was pretty amazing to see. I was worried about how they planned to cut a key from that young tree, but it came out with some very splendid crystals. I was surprised. It had unbelievably sized sap crystals for such a young tree. The witnesses there knew the fact that Kariko had gotten a second-generation tree, definitively fixing her position as royalty. There was no room for arguing her legitimacy, especially when Susan, who was an Amaki, was actively supporting Kariko. She will make a lovely addition to the family, so we must cheer her all the way, Susan said with a full smile. Because there was no sense of tension like there was at last night's dinner party, Kariko's attitude was dignified. She had a feeling of confidence, dignity, and a sense of duty now that she had joined the ranks of the empire. Of course, those around her, Amain, Ryoko, and even Neju were without words. Naturally, Seina stood stunned. Sito stood beside Kariko, satisfied with their reactions. From today on she is Kariko Masaki Jurai. What do you think of that? Sito introduced her proudly. At that time Seina was staring at Kariko's glamorous appearance, remembering when Kariko had left the village for employment reasons. Yes, it's just like back then. Kariko in her outfit looked really grown up, and it reminded him of a long time ago. He remembered the loneliness that he felt when she went to where he could not reach her. He had felt the same feeling at that time. What? Isn't anyone going to say anything? Oh, that's a terribly fancy kimono. When did you have it made? Amain, why are you talking about her kimono? Ryoko and Neju asked. I'm just surprised it's tailor-made for her. Look at the hand-woven stitching. That takes time. It's not something that you can get in such a short amount of time. That kimono is amazing. Actually, it's Funaho's wedding dress. They had it altered. I see. Because you two look so similar, they were able to make it work in such a short time. Minaho came along behind Sito with a quick pace and gently whispered something to her. That was quicker than expected. Sito's calm face slightly tightened after she received Minaho's report. Well, I hate to ruin the occasion, but Sito turned towards Seina formally, and Seina and everyone corrected their attitude accordingly. The fortune ships have begun their activities again. The damage seems to have increased more rapidly than before, or perhaps it should be said that it has grown even stronger. But there was no sign that Seina was frightened by Sito's words. He knew that was the reason for the tree selection ritual. In that case, it's time to drain the waste with the water, Amain said. Well, I guess you could say that. Sito unintentionally giggled a bit and immediately smiled the usual unfriendly smile. Let's get the link working soon. We'll set for launch as soon as possible, and we'll show them who's boss. Roger that.